Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
1-2 game.
Yep.
Kind of a crazy little hand. Real quick backstory. Villain in this hand played a hand about 10 minutes prior. Guy open raised to 12, and he just monkey shoved for 200. And guy snap called with pocket kings, and the guy rolled over queen four suited. Actually won the hand. So this guy is just a little bit wild, to say the least.
Okay.
Okay, so the hand starts out 350 is the effective stack. That's the main villain.
Sure.
Middle position raises to 12. Villain calls from the cutoff. Button folds.
Mm-hmm.
Small blind, which is a short stack, calls. And I look down in the big blind at 3-5 of hearts. And my main interest here is just playing this hand to see if I could hit something against the main villain.
So MP 1 to 12, cutoff calls, small blind calls. You have 5-3 of hearts, so 12, 24, 36. You're calling. You've got $2 in there, so it's 38. So you're calling 10 for 38. You're getting about 4-1. I mean, I would probably call on my 5-10 games here with like a connected suited hand. I imagine if your game, I don't know if you're playing in Illinois somewhere, but I imagine if your game is anything like I've seen from the 1-2-ish types of games in LA's, if everyone's shallow here, I would probably just tend to fold. Does everyone play sort of shallow in your game, or does everybody have like at least 300 besides the small blind?
Yeah, most of them have between 200 and 300.
Okay.
I've got myself and another guy have the table covered with about 600.
It's probably very, very close against a 6x open, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're trying to improve and really super, play as profitable as possible, it's probably a fold, but it's probably not that big of a mistake. So I'm not going to get on you too much. Obviously, 4-5 suited is a call. All right, so 4 ways. Go to the flop.
So the flop comes 9-6-3 rainbow with 1 heart.
Okay.
Not what I was looking for.
Sure.
And it amazingly checks through.
Okay, so it checks through.
So we go to the turn.
Yep.
And the turn is a 7 of hearts.
Okay.
Which brings in a lot of stuff for me.
Sure.
Now the small blind shoves for $33. I decided to just flat here, kind of hoping to keep the main villain in the hand.
So the small blind shoves for 33 into a pot of 48, right? Something like that?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
This is very interesting. What's your name?
Ross.
This is very interesting, Ross, because I thought you were going to say, well, I'm going to look at this a couple of different ways, because let's say the small blind didn't check, right? Didn't shove and it got to you. The preflop raiser is in MP1, right? So he's to your immediate left. Right. So when he doesn't, and it's just the MP1 and the cutoff and the small blind in you. So when he doesn't bet the flop, he tends to not really have that many overpairs, if ever, at this level. And then when the cutoff checks, you would think the cutoff probably would bet a pair. So I guess I would probably I could really bet small with a 3 and think it's good. The way that I was going with this is if the small blind checks, like, sometimes you can actually add a lot of fold equity by check raising the turn instead of just betting, because bets are going to get called by pairs. But if you check and sort of evaluate what happens in front of you and you see somebody bet small, you can actually make a semi bluff here with a pair plus flush draw. It's just something to think about, because I thought that's what you said was going to happen here. When the small blind actually shoves for 33, you have an interesting scenario that we actually get a fair amount of calls, it seems like, with this, where it's like, all right, well, I have a draw, right? You have a draw with 5-3 of hearts. The small blind most likely has a made hand that has you beat. So do I want to drive out the people behind me? Or do I just want to call because I got to make my hand anyways, right? With 5-3.
I wanted to just call and keep the main villain in.
With what? What did you want to keep the main villain? Like, what do you think the main villain has that's going to go?
I think he could have just about anything given his previous action with the queen forehand, he checked the flop. I mean, he could have overcards. He could have top pair. I don't think he's got much more than top pair, or he would have bet the flop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking with all the outs that I have, I mean, I've got a double gutter, a pair, and a flush draw here.
Right.
I just thought flatting here and hoping that the crazy guy would come along and we could maybe play a big pot on the river if I hit anything, because I think my hand's going to be pretty well disguised.
Yeah, you have a double gutter to a 4 into an 8, right, with 5-3.
Right. Yep.
No, I know. I guess what I would say, though, is that there's some value sometimes in isolating the small blind if you ever think the small blind has a worse hand than you, or where he doesn't have a pair somehow, like he has an 8 or another flush draw, and you can get the people out behind so you could just win with a 3. But I think as played, I think it's probably fine to call, because if you think the pre-flop raiser would have bet with a 9 or a 6, what does he really have? And you have the hearts covered, so if he has overcards, he's drawing really slim.
Right.
Okay, so you call.
So I call.
Yep.
Middle position folds.
Okay.
And main villain now does something that I really wasn't quite ready for. He shoves for 300 on top.
So the main villain is in the cutoff, who's the field caller, right?
Right.
Okay,
right.
So let me just review this hand real quick. So MP1 to 12, crazy guy in the cutoff calls. Small blind calls. Hero completes with 3-5 of hearts. The board comes out 9-6-3, rainbow with 1 heart. It gets checked through. The turn is the 7 of hearts. So the hero has a flush draw and a double gutter. The small blind shoves for 33. Hero calls. MP1 folds, and now the cutoff jams for 300.
Yeah, 300 on top.
Here's the thing, what do you think the cutoff has?
Well, like I said, I had never played with him before and had only been at this table. I was actually just killing time. My wife was in a tournament at another casino, and I was just killing time at this game, and hadn't played with this main villain for maybe more than an hour, and hadn't seen just seen some crazy stuff. So at this point, I'm thinking, I don't put him on any sets. There's no way. I don't think he would jam with a set. I think he's jamming maybe with top pair or maybe 2 pair or some open-ended straight draw. I just don't think he's
here's the thing.
Super strong.
Here's Ross, right? Is that what you said?
You're right.
Ross. Here's the thing, though, because remember, we said that he would bet the top pair, and he might even bet a 6 on the flop, right? So
right.
I think he would also bet 4-5, which is open-ended. You block 4-5 because you have 3-5 in your hand, so we can sort of throw that out. So really, the only hand that you're doing really badly against here is 10-8, which is a gut shot. If you didn't bet that, then you're doing fairly bad against that hand. And the question is, would he just jam the nuts? So if he has a heart draw along with you and he doesn't have a pair, you're way out in front. So I probably have a hard time folding this hand given your description. And maybe occasionally you're going to lose to King 7 offsuit because he thinks you're on a draw and he's just good. But you have so much equity against one pair hand. If he's somehow saying, "Oh, I'm going to protect and I have Ace 7 or King 7 and I think this guy in the small blind has a draw, so I'm just going to jam here." I mean, you have a flush draw, a pair, and a double gutter. That's you're almost 40 to 45% against a single pair that doesn't block any of your outs. So if we were to crunch this, I mean, 33 in a call is 66 and 48 is 114. He jams for 300. So that's 414. It's 270, 414 for you to call. You're getting 1.5 to 1, which means that you probably need to be 40% against the guy on the side that's jamming. And I think you probably are. I mean, I know a lot of times but if he's a maniac or he has Ace 8 or some shit like that, I think he bets 7-8 on the flop. I think he bets 4-5 on the flop. So you don't have to worry about those hands. 10-8, yeah, that would suck. I think he's got a higher heart draw, a naked 8, or he's trying to play some bullshit protection with King 7 or Ace 7, and you have equity against it. So given your description, I would probably call off.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Did you fold?
Yeah, I tanked for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then my phone started blowing up at just the time I was trying to make a decision. My wife's calling me, so I know she's out of the tournament. And I kind of got distracted, but I couldn't find a way to pull the
By the way,
trigger.
do you remember what the flop distribution was of suits? Like, do you remember what people in the chat are asking? Do you remember what suit was what card?
My heart that I
what
had
could have been a 3, right? Yeah.
Right. So it was the
6 of hearts.
9 of hearts.
9 of hearts. Okay.
9 of hearts, and then I think there was a.
That's fine. That's enough. Yeah. That's enough.
Okay.
So he could have 8x of hearts here too, like
right.
Jack 8 of hearts or something like that. So you ended up folding. Did you see what happened?
Yeah, because it went to showdown because of the small blind. And the small blind, he ended up mucking his hand because the villain rolled his hand over first, and he showed 9-6 of diamonds.
So what was the river? What was the river?
Yeah, this is where I threw up in the back of my throat because the river was a black 4.
The river was a 4?
Yeah, it gives me a straight.
So, wow, the guy decided to check top 2 and then just jam the turn.
Yeah.
I bet you against top 2, you still have, I mean, obviously, if he shows you top 2, let me go to my trusty, excuse me for a second. I'm going to do some real time, I can't show this on the stream because I don't have this as a source, but I'm going to go and I'm going to look at 5-3 of hearts against, maybe we can put this, if we use this for a YouTube video, we actually might put this up as a hand, and I'll bring this in for Peter. So 9 of hearts, let's say 6 of spades, 3 of clubs, 7 of hearts, 9-6 of diamonds versus 5-3 of hearts. I'm going to calculate, and we get 36% equity.
Right.
With 1 card to come, which is a lot. You know what I mean? You only need 40%. And that's just 1 hand. So it seems like he's
kind of what
maniacal.
I thought in game too. I don't know why I folded. I felt like I should be calling, and I don't know why. I think part of it was I just got distracted a little bit, but I just bailed at the last second. I was just so mad at myself, even before the river hit. I mean, you never want to be results oriented. I get that, but
Ross, again, you got to look at the mental game of it, though. Are you angry? Are you sort of upset about this hand because the 4 of hearts rolled off at the end? Like if the river was
I think I was annoyed because my phone started blowing up at just the time I was trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew what that meant because I knew she got knocked out of the tournament. So I knew that meant I had to leave. So now I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be one of my last hands. What do I want to do here?
Right.
And I felt like I should have just called at the moment. I really did, and I just, for some reason, I couldn't pull the trigger, and I was mad at myself.
Well, thank you for the first-time call. Appreciate it. Hey, guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button, and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out CrushLivePoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.